Happy Sunday, y'all. Happy morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you may be sitting right now. Hope everybody's doing well. It's been a busy week, as you can see. That is okay. Let me nip this in the bud. That's not my spoil board. That is the table that is going to go underneath the spoil board. I'm still getting everything figured out. I think I have my design finally kind of in my head, but it's just going to be an evolutionary thing, like I said earlier. I'm incorporating vertical work holding into it and trying to get the maximum use out of it as I can. Um, I'll go ahead and answer the questions before they come. Uh, that is a sheet of MDO board, which is medium density overlay. Basically, it is plywood with a resin impregnated paper covering on the top and bottom. And that's done for sealing and durability. With the climate we have here in Southern Oregon, it rains so much that we have several straight days a year of heavy fog, which is 100% humidity, and just simply put, wood rots here. In the summer, it gets hot. Yeah, RB is asking me about the weather here. We're looking at 101 today, which is a little over 38 Celsius. And for the next 5 days, it's going to be 105 or higher. And that is right around 40 Celsius. Our high is supposed to be this Tuesday, 108, and that's, I believe, 42 Celsius. So, yeah, it's pretty warm there, RB. um, you know, but as hot as it gets in the summer, we have like 4 months of good weather, and the rest of the time it's rainy and cold and nasty and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, going with just an MDF substrate on my table is a non-starter. It will absorb moisture with that much humidity, and fog is 100% humidity. I mean, that's just all there is to it. Um, I've fought that battle already, and on my first CNC, the spoil board the whole table was was MDF, and it just started sagging and swelling here and there. And the very first CNC that I built actually started to mildew. So everything has to be sealed. So going with MDO board, that means all I have to seal are edges and any penetrations. And there will be penetrations in the table to fasten it down to the frame. And doing the getting everything mounted. So I'll get all that, bolted down, and then, seal all those holes before I use the hardware to bolt it all in. And then start adding the MDF spoil board and T-track on top of it. I am going to be using T-track mainly as a way of mounting fixtures, but there will be other things involved with that as well. So let's see here. Peter Van Vliet wants to know, do you have HVAC in your shop? Currently, no. I would like to put a mini split in, but even then, the humidity in the air, I mean, it's a ongoing struggle. The folks up north of me have it even worse. It's it's just part of living here, and we learn to deal with it. Just seal everything and be done with it. A dehumidifier would be like trying to fight back high tide with a broom, you know. So it's just part of living here. It's something that we've grown accustomed to. Maybe that's why I spent so much time living in the desert. We lived down in the Nevada desert where the humidity in the summertime was single digits and maybe got up to 20-25% in the wintertime. I teased about living in Nevada. A baby's first words were usually, but it's a dry heat, you know. So I mean, it's just part of living here. It's no big deal. But the MDO board will be the substrate, and then I'll put the MDF over the top of that. And even then, I seal the MDF. You have to, because otherwise it'll swell and just suddenly be doing this, and you're resurfacing it every time you need to go use it. Um, so it's just part of living here. It's no big deal. You can, if you are an eagle-eyed viewer, you can see that there is a second cross member under right there, and that's part of the vertical work holding. I have the extrusion, it's installed. That video will come down the road a little bit because I've got to get it perfected myself. But first step is spoil board, then tramming, then we can actually start making some chips. So that'll be a major relief, and I can't wait. I'm chomping at the bit, but everything takes time. I don't have Mach 4 loaded up and running right now, so I can't move it back and forth. I can by hand, but that's about it. Um, if there were any questions about the assembly video this morning, feel free to ask. It's it again. I was kind of sweating this build, but the instructions, I know I keep going on and on about those instructions, those assembly instructions, but they really are the best I have ever used for making anything. And it is really very straightforward and a very easy assembly. Uh, Bill, I will be using a shellac-based sanding sealer, and that's good enough. I mean, I prefer a shellac base because shellac being an alcohol based, it won't cause any issues itself with, it doesn't penetrate into the grain, so there's no raising of the grain or swelling or anything like that. Yeah, I know it's plywood, but you start putting something that the wood will absorb into the edges and you're looking at swelling, and the uh, shellac base won't do that. Alternatively, I could spray it with polyurethane, but I've got, I use Zinsser Seal Coat. I'll put a link to it in the description as soon as we're done here. Seal Coat. And that's available at most big box stores. It's, like I said, a shellac-based sanding sealer. A couple, 3 coats of that, and boom, it's done. Let's see here. The Fuzz wants to know, is there built-in adjustments for tramming? For tilt, yes, there is that tramming mount right behind the spindle. What you saw me bolting to the spindle and then bolting to the Z-axis, that is the tramming adjustable tramming mount for the spindle. But if there's any nod in it, either forward or backwards, um, that still has to be done the old-fashioned way, and that's with shims. So I've got a Napa car parts store just like 4 blocks away from me. I can check out the I can check out how far out it is and go get some shim stock, whether it be in multiples of 5,000ths or 10,000ths or whatever I need. And that's how I'll end up doing that. So, okay, let's get into a few questions that we had here. Steve Russell had a question about, uh, looks like in Aspire. If you have a 3D model from Design and Make, is it possible to modify that model in Aspire? Yes. For example, make a tail longer or shorter? Yes. Yes. The models from Design and Make, depending upon, well, I think all of them. Generally speaking, if you're using Vectric software and you download a model from Design and Make, get the V3M file format. That's Vectric's 3D model format. That's what V3M stands for. And then it's just like clip art. It's identical to clip art. It can be manipulated exactly the same way. You know, cut, sliced, diced, elongated, scaled, distorted, just like any other Vectric clip art. So I know that's more than you wanted to know, but yes, that is the case. So let's see here. Forgot to mention the best proximity sensors in the world. Well, that you know, I can't say yes, I can't say no. All I can say is they've got to be better than what I had, which were the old mechanical switches. And while that does work very well, um, they are mechanical, and as such, they wear out. They get sawdust in them. They get crud build up in them. Um, you know, so the mechanical switches, when you buy them in bulk, they end up being like, you know, 13, 14 cents each or something like that. Well, there's a reason they're that cheap, and that's because they're not made of the best. They're not made of the best material in the world, so they will fail. Everything mechanical is going to fail one day or another. So let's see. Steve says seal coat is great. There's no wax in it. Yes, that's a major boost. Excuse me, a major plus in its favor. But in this instance, wax really isn't an issue. But if you're, I like to use it as a base coat for things like if I'm staining certain woods that like to absorb stain more in this area and less in that area, a little bit of seal coat, sand with 320, and then hit it with the stain. And it'll also keep woods from absorbing too much in the end grain without blocking 100% of the stain. And then you can finish over the top of it. Works really well. So yeah, I like seal coat a lot. So let's see. Mario Montoya wants to know, how does one precisely move an oval along an angled vector from a centered point in VCarve? Well, if you have a little bit more detail than that, Mario, I kind of don't know, but uh, I think I get what you're saying. Let me go ahead and screen share here, and we'll get into Aspire. And I've got this oval that I made, and then I have an angled vector. There are a, a couple of things involved in this. One is that you have geometry snapping turned on. And you can tell if you have it on or not. It's this icon right up here, right above the scale. And you can see it has a square in the center of it and a couple of arrows. If that is lit up blue, that means that geometry snapping is on. And if you turn it off and you don't see that square and it's not blue, it's turned off. Make sure you have geometry snapping turned on. And when you grab hold of, put it into move and transform mode, you grab hold of it and drag it down, you'll see that it'll snap right to the end. And you see how my cursor turns into that crosshair. And it'll snap to the end, and you can follow right along that vector, and it'll once again turn into a crosshair when you're right in the center, uh, or again when you reach the end. Now, if you, let me go ahead and bring it back up here. Now, if you have an exact known point of where you're trying to put that, you can follow along the cursor and look at your readouts down below here and get an XY reading. Let's say we want to go at X 2.45 and Y minus 0.245. Just select that and we'll go into node editing mode and then come down here and we'll place a node at that point. What I say, 245? Let's go here, 24. Now it's going to jump around. Let me zoom in. 24. Come on. Yeah. Boom. That's good enough. Yeah, that's good enough. Insert a point. Okay, now we can come out of node editing and let's grab this again. And it should snap to that node as well. There is the first one, and it snaps to that node as well. So if you wanted to place that in a particular point, you could go that route. Or you could just not worry about that vector and just drag it to that known point on your work material. So, I mean, I hope that's what you were asking. If that's not, please give me a little bit more detail there and I'll see what I can do. But okay, all right. He says referring to the left and right endpoints along the center of the oval, not the length, height, and center point. Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about now. That's what. Okay. All right. Basically, you're talking about rotating the left and right center points so that they are along that angle. Okay. Gotcha. Again, we'll go into move and transform mode. And let's say you wanted to use this angle as an example. Let's see. Whoop. No, let me bring it around here. Let's see. Let's bring it back down here onto that point. Okay, there we go. And we'll go over here to rotate. Okay. Now, when I clicked on rotate, you see how that center square became a circle. That is your rotation center. That's the I'm trying to think of the word and I can't think of the word. Pivot point. Thank you. That turned into the pivot point of the oval. Let me close that out real quick. Let's grab this edge of the oval and put that right here on that point. Okay. Then when I come in here to rotate, I can grab that pivot point and drag it over to that edge. Then grab this point, whoops, come on. Grab this point, my mistake, and bring that up and boom, there we go. Did that make sense? I kind of did it a little bit haphazardly there, forgetting a few things. Is that what you're referring to there, Mario? Just rotating the entire thing along that vector while I'm waiting for him to reply. Okay. Just close that. Then you can come along and either delete that vector or hide it on another layer or turn it off or whatever. So I hope that's what you were asking. If not, we'll come back to it. So, okay, let's see here. Oh, okay. Now move it to a precise point along the vector. Okay, well, again, you have to know where on that vector you want it. If, for instance, you want the center point to be up in here somewhere with geometry snapping turned on, you can just drag it along that vector. And again, watch your readings down here, and if you don't have a point, a node along that vector, you can go into node editing, select the vector, go into node editing and put a point. Let's say, for example, I have a point right here, a point right here, and here's the midpoint between those two. I can just right click on that center point, insert a point, and now come out of node editing. And with smart snapping turned on, again, I can drag it down to that point, and there we go. Now, if you know the precise area where you want it to be, see, and again, we're going to go into it, that it's the same move scale. It's the same thing as double clicking it. So, hopes that answers that. I say, I wonder if you can do anything in the properties. Can you do object properties? Oh, let me go back over here. Can you do anything in object prop? Nope, can't do anything in object properties to put it in a specific location. Okay. All right. The other option would be to create that oval. Let's say you wanted that oval to be up here at, let's go with, you want to create that oval, anchor the center of it at X 2.0, Y 2.0, and leave it that size. Now let's make it 2.5 by 1.2. Create that oval, close it. Then we'll have to draw our vector. Let's make it a little bit different angle. We want to go about like so, space bar, and now I want to put, you see how I don't really have anything there lined up. So we'll go with so, and we will move this rotation point here. Bear with me for a second. There we go. Close. Then I can get rid of that vector. Does that make sense? So put it where you want it first, then you can rotate it in any direction. So, okay, if that's any help, I don't know. But just get in and play with it, and don't be afraid to experiment. Let's see here. Wade wants to know, do you have a video about using an end mill as a clearance tool for flat sections of V-carve? Yes, I do. I'll put a link to it in the description below, but basically it's part 2 of the mini series on V-carving for the absolute beginner. And that's carving to a flat depth. So I'll write myself a note that I'll put a link to it down in the description box of this video. But There's a link to that entire mini series already down in the description and in every video just about on my channel. But it's part 2. And it's, yes, V carving to a flat depth is what it's called. So, and that'll tell you everything I know about it. So, so let's see here. Jack Painter wants to know, how high is your table from the floor? You know what? I don't know. Let's go find out. Where'd I put my tape? This is a daily struggle. As it sits right now with the this piece of MDO just sitting here, it is 36 5/8 of an inch above the floor. So right at about kitchen counter height. Average kitchen countertop is about 36 inches off the floor. And that's what this is. So yeah, it hits me at about the same place a kitchen countertop does. And I'm one of those itty bitty short guys, 5'7". So, Sargon, did you find any solution to the headset issue? I haven't had the issue since. It was just that one day. I don't know if there was something interfering or what. Knock on wood. It hasn't happened since. So I don't know if it was just a fluke or what, but I haven't had that problem since. So let's see here. Let's see. Rick French says the Avid is the only CNC that I've owned. Do the others all come assembled so that you just unpack them and plug them in? Some. I felt that I completely learned my machine by assembling it bolt by bolt. That is the major advantage right there. Is that exactly now you know if somebody says the Y1 limit switch, you know where it is. Troubleshooting is so much easier when you know each and every part. As far as all the others, it's a combination. Some come fully assembled and weigh a ton. Others are kits like this as well. It just depends, really. So let's see here. Let's find out here. Dwayne Ruthig says, is squaring the gantry to the table as simple as pulling it against the stops on the front while the power is off? It's even easier than that. It's homing the machine. As part of this particular machine, you saw in the video, I put these, and I don't know if you can see them, I put the cube type limit switches here. There's another one on the front of the machine over here. And these little metal flags, as you home the machine, the gantry comes forward, it reads this side and that side. And as long as these two flags are adjusted the same distance out, it automatically squares the gantry. So I don't know. It's a thing with people. I don't get it. Homing the machine takes about 30 seconds, if that. And it does move slow when it's homing, but the cure to that is to rapid it up close to the sensor flags, then click on homing, and it takes about 30 seconds. It'll move forward, auto square. Then the X, well, and I have mine set to where X and Z home at the same time. So while the gantry is moving forward, the X is moving over to the left, and then Z sets itself and done. Then it's auto squared. Technically, I could pull it forward so both sides are touching the bumpers, but it is set up to where the bumpers are kind of a last resort. If it hits those bumpers, it should have already hit soft limits, and the software should have shut everything down. So it's just it auto uh, squares itself, but you have to make sure you have those sensor flags adjusted properly, and that was not really an issue. So see what's going on here. Okay. Let's see. Jack Matson wants to know, what is your favorite wood magazine that would have some CNC content? You know how long it's been since I've read a magazine. I haven't even gone to the magazine rack in a long time. So all of my favorite wood magazines, um, I read before I got into CNC. And then they were fairly common. Better Homes and Gardens Wood and Woodsmith. And Woodsmith had a sister publication called Shop Notes. I don't know if that is still the case. I don't know if they still publish a paper magazine or if it's all online now. But I don't think I bought a magazine at all since I've gotten into CNC routers. Now, there are some other magazines I can't remember the name of. Basically, those were the three that I bought when I saw them on the newsstand or that I subscribed to. But there were times that I would just cruise past the magazine rack, something catch my eye, and I'd stop and look at it. Something I've always been interested in has been intarsia. I just never really got into it. And I'm getting into less and less of the decorative arts, but and more into structural and architectural. Um, but I will never say never. I mean, a lot of that intarsia could be traded over, and excuse me, not traded over, but translated over into CNC. Um, scroll sawing is another one. Scroll sawing is to me, depending upon what type it is, scroll sawing has always been an art form to me. And I did a video on using scroll saw patterns for V carving projects. But somebody in one of the mini CNC groups that I'm in on Facebook took that to a whole nother level and went and got a hold of a pattern for a fretwork clock, a wall clock. I mean, and the thing is huge, but he really went above and beyond. And I don't know what size bit he used, but it had to have been at least a 1/32 bit for some of those cuts. Because I mean, this thing is glorious. It is just absolutely fantastic work. And cutting out all that fretwork on the CNC router, I was just like, holy cow, you must have been using some tiny bits, or you went back and did a lot of cleaning up because it looks like it was cut on a scroll saw. So, um, but I would see things like that and kind of in my brain go, I wonder if I could do that. And I just haven't had the chance, haven't had the time to do it just yet. So let's see. Bill Stoffer says, I always make sure on shutdown that I'm close to the home position. Saves a lot of time. Yeah, that's true too. Well, when this machine, when it homes, it moves at 25 inches per minute. The rapids on it are 600 inches per minute. So you bet I'm going to bring it up close to the flags and bring the X over close to the flags, and just within a couple of inches, then home XY and home XYZ, and off it goes. Let it do the work. So Okay, Bill also says shop notes is available on thumb drive only now. Okay. Woodsmith and shop notes are digital now. There is some CNC. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what machines or what something like that. Somehow the internet just said, "Yeah, that's enough. Show's over. I'm tired." I don't know what's going on, but for the past 3, maybe 4 days, we have had intermittent internet outage and intermittent power outages. I don't know. I mean, some people say, well, it's just the heat. I don't know how the heat could do that to lines that are underground. Doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, well, we'll try to pick up where we left off, and that gives me something to edit a little bit later on. Let's see here. Says here, somebody lost internet. Mark, you locked up. You froze it up. Your video is frozen. Thought it was my system. Okay, Rick French says the challenge with bringing the gantry close to home on shutdown is that it's in the way if you want to mount your next workpiece before booting the CNC. Yeah, that can be an issue, and I get what you mean, Rick. Um, you know, you've got everything shoved up there close to the home position. Now you got a 40 by 40 piece of material you want to put on the table. Yeah, bring it all the way back. And that's why I do it just before I hit home. I mean, I'll bring it up real close and then bring it all the way up. I did that on the Gatton CNC as well. I mean, just go ahead and bring it up close and then home the machine. And I home the machine every time I turn it on. So, let's see. A couple people saying sunspots and solar flares and things like that. Okay, let's see here now. LB, I don't know if I missed your question or not, but I've got a bunch of them marked and set aside. No, I did not miss your question. It's right here. Mach 3 motor tuning. Can you explain what steps, direction, pulse does or what it's for? Okay, I don't have Mach 3 on this computer, so I can't show you. But, boy, I'm trying to think back. In motor tuning, it generally, I'm going to have to claim ignorance on this because I really cannot remember. LB, let me look into it on a computer with Mach 3 so I can refresh my memory and we can talk about it next week, if that's okay. Let me see, get this here written down. Mach 3. And you want to know about step, direction, pulse. Step direction is literally which direction the machine's going to go. But I can't remember off the top of my head without getting into that screen and seeing what it is. Okay. So, let's see. Any way to bring CRV 3D files into desktop? No. CRV 3D files are for Aspire only. And there is nothing you can do to change that at all. So, yeah, LB, your options are 0 to 4 on both. If it's working, I would leave it alone. that may be just how many pulses per unit that motor needs. If it's working, don't monkey with it. Know what I mean? Let's see here. Man, we got a lot of questions going. Yes, Russell Faraday, excellent point. I always home Z first. It gets the spindle up as high as possible before X or Y moves in case anything is on the bed to collide with. Yes, that is absolutely the better way to do it. And again, that's why I bring everything up and forward in rapids, so then it's no longer a factor. So let's see. Leo Stegger says, are you going to be a presenter at the Vectric user group meeting in September? No, I was scheduled to be. I had to withdraw. I will not even be there. And I'm very sorry about that. I really, really still want to go. But it's just not in the cards for this year. So let's see. Bob Dart says, I have a vertical carve question. I do round plaques. I'm set up to do vertical edge lettering, but I can't figure out how to get VCarve Pro to design and carve on the radius. Let me explore that a little bit. I have been kind of sort of looking into something similar, but let me explore that. I haven't even got my vertical work holding set up yet. There, I'm not even going to postulate at this moment. I know you can wrap text rotary. So the curve is going this way, but I don't know if you can wrap text horizontally, like I think you want to go. Might have to do a little bit of playing with wrapping. I don't know yet. So let me get into it. So any help right now? No. But that's something I do want to explore. So let's see, get back in here and see if there were any questions that I missed and mark them. Okay, LB says, I had to use Pulse 4 to get motor accuracy, trial and error. Mach 3 manual does not explain it. There is a YouTube channel. Let me make sure of it before I put it out there. Let me make sure of it before I do it now. I want to say his name is Paul Campbell, but I may be wrong. I tell you what, he does a lot of good Mach 3. Man, he does a lot of good Mach 3 videos. And of course, I have all these bookmarked in the other computer in the house, and now I'm not seeing it. Let me find his channel and I will link it in the description. He does a lot of good Mach 3 tutorials, and I mean, he goes into it in depth, into things like this that I had never heard of. And he really helped me hone my skills on Mach 3. But let me look for the channel and I will link it in the description after this, after we're done here. I just did a search for him and can't find him. There are too many other Paul Campbells who are also making other type of videos. Here's another one. Bob suggests try YouTube, make CNC TV. That may be his channel name, but I'm not certain of that. Let me see here. Barnworks says, I noticed Mach 4 will allow you to probe the surface of your project material. So it is essentially develops a mesh surface to adjust to. Do you see that as something you're interested in? I would like to get into probing um, as a general rule. I know it was possible in Mach 3. I haven't looked into it in Mach 4. Um, but yes, that is something I'm interested in, but that's going to be way down the road because there are other things that are going to have to come first. So it may be a year or more before I can get to that. But yes, that is something that I am interested in pursuing. So let's see here. Carlos Stein says, I got asked to carve a pre-cut non-symmetrical rectangle, 48 millimeters high, with lines from corner to corner to indicate the highest point is where the lines crossed, then slopes down to 12 millimeter. Wow. Non-symmetrical rectangle with lines from corner to corner to indicate the highest point is where the lines cross. Okay, I read you. And then slopes down to 12 millimeters. So it's a rather steep angle there, 48 millimeters down to 12 millimeters. Of course, it just depends how big the thing is. Are you trying to carve on that to V-carve lettering or something? Because again, that's another thing that I want to look into. What software are you trying to use for that carve? So, and that question came in right about the time my internet dropped. So you may have already answered that, and I just haven't seen it. So, if you could give me a little bit more information, I'll do what I can. Okay, Lewis Denton says, when I try to rapid move on my Onefinity, I never know whether it will be rapid or slow. If I do several in a sequence in a row, some will be fast and some will be slow. Is this exclusive a Onefinity issue? You know, having never used a Onefinity or even been in the same room with one, I don't even know what controller it uses. I know in Mach 3, you had a few choices. You had full speed, and then you had incremental that you set, and you could adjust the speed as well. But I don't know about Onefinity. And I'll be honest with you, my first impulse would be to get into some of the Onefinity users groups on either Facebook or their support community and ask them, simply because they use those machines all the time. And somebody may have already answered this, or somebody else may have an answer for you. I would just be guessing, and I'd hate like heck to send you down the wrong direction, Lewis. Um, but I just don't know. Okay, all right. Carlos says it was just panels to make. Okay, so you were making up the panel. Tried with V-carve. They were various sizes. The slopes were not the problem, as they were relatively large. It was just getting the design done is where I got stuck. Okay, okay. So were you engraving text, or were you trying to engrave a pattern or something else? And did you get it solved? So, and what, okay, with VCarb, you said. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, he says right there, could not do it. Can you help? I'm sorry, I missed that part of the comment. Did not get it done. Let's see, I'm trying to think of just a panel with a point. Okay, I'm trying to think of see, the thing about it is you're talking about a sloped surface like that. Without seeing the piece or without seeing the design, I'm going to assume that you were either trying to carve text into it that would be sloping up towards the center and then sloping back down away from the center, possibly on all four sides. About the only thing that I could recommend would be to, let me see, you can't make a shape in V-carve, and I don't think there are any clip art that has that kind of shape to it. Let's see, panels and shields. I'm looking in the clip art now to see if there are any panels like that. If you can find a 3D model that of that panel, okay, no text, just a panel going up to a center point. Okay. Were you trying to make that center point, or were you trying to okay, it's not in the center as it's non-symmetrical. For those of you, I'm reading as he types. Were you trying to make that shape, or was it, or the panel already sent to you? And that's exactly where I was getting ready to go, Michael, was the fluting tool path to make that shape. Okay. Steve Bobby wants to know, do you work more in Aspire or VCarve, and why? I work in Aspire, and that's simply because that's the software I own. Aspire will do everything VCarve will do and a whole lot more. Like in the case of, we're talking with uh, Carlo Stein here about creating a shape and then creating a design on that shape. I mean, you can create a 2D design and then project it down onto that 3D model, but you have to have that 3D model first. And because it's using VCarve, you can't create that model. In Aspire, I can create the model, then put the design on that panel. So, yes, that's what I'm getting to, John, like a pyramid shape with the point not in the center. It's asymmetrical. So, I, without having a model of that surface, Carlo, it's going to be very, very difficult to do. You need a model of that surface that you can import into VCarve and then project that 2D design, whatever it may be, onto that model. So, welcome to a day of technical difficulties. Okay, Michael Keymont says you can use the Auto Leveler app to probe the surface, then modify the G code. Yeah, you're getting real technical, but yes, you could do that. Could I show? I could show it in Aspire. That would have to be a separate video because it's not something I could show you in a minute and a half. But it wouldn't help you because you can't create the shape. You would need to have that shape created for you. Then you could do the uh, project the 2D model or the 2D pattern onto the 3D model. And that's one of the reasons why I stepped up to Aspire, was for just that kind of a situation where I needed to create a shape to be able to project onto the to be able to project that 2D pattern onto it. Why did I choose Aspire over Carveco? Because the best of my knowledge, there was no Carveco when I started going with Vectric. I mean, I may be wrong, but I had never heard of Carveco until about maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. Okay, Brooks Martin is saying Dome Pyramid is in the clip art folder. Okay, let's see, is it in? Where's it at? In what folder? Panels and shields, something like that. Let's see. So, okay, let's see here. Well, it may or may not be a terminology problem. IL, uh, a rectangle is a rectangle. Yes, agreed. But now you lay that down and you bring it up to a pyramid point, but that pyramid point is not in the center. It's off to one side. I mean, looking at it from above, it's still a rectangle, but yeah. Let's see. I'm not seeing a domed pyramid, but then again, don't know where to look. So, okay, let's see. Let's see here. Carlos says it was rather a lot of panels, all being different sizes and shapes, so I would have to redraw all of them to size and then find the point of each, then carve them. Maybe a video for another day. Maybe. I mean, it sounds to me like this is kind of one of those like a wall panel, a text like a. I'm trying to think of the word for it. I'm sure Michael Mazalik knows what they're called, but like a textured wall panel where you've got various geometric shapes in it. Is it something like that? You said it was a pretty large piece. Um, Mario Montoya says, thinking of experimenting with the dog bone gadget. Any tips? Absolutely none. I've never used the dog bone gadget. In fact, the only gadget I've ever used has been wrapping back in VCarve, and that was for wrapping on the rotary. So, okay, that's exactly what it is. It's a textured wall panel. Okay, all right, yeah, that's exactly okay. Um, Yeah, I think I am not your guy. Let me get in and play around a little bit. But I think what you're going to need is I think you're going to need a model of that texture in order to carve it. Um, okay, it's in the textured. Thanks. Let me go look here. Texture area tiles. Boom. There it is. But then again, I have Aspire. I don't know if you'd be able to edit this. Edit this in VCarve. So I did find the dome pyramid. Thank you, Brooks. But I don't know that you'd be able to edit this in VCarve. I found it though. Um, hmm. Now I do know somebody in Denver who creates those textured panels, and he cheats like a big dog. He uses V-bits with a very shallow angle. And I always had a few custom bits made, but he'll use like a 100-degree V-bit and then just set his depth of cut, and he just has it cut front to rear. I mean, he's had several bits made for these custom textured wall panels, up to and including a uh, a 3-inch diameter ball nose. And you want to talk about a beefy bit and a beefy machine he runs it on. So, okay, I think we're going to go ahead and end it now. This has been a day of um, major issues on my end here. But Carlo, the best thing I could say is for what you want to do, it may or may not be possible in VCarve. Michael is talking about looking at the molding tool path, but you'd have to get in and experiment with it. So let's see here. Looking for a 180-degree V-bit. Okay. Have one made, Michael. Talk to your friendly local machinist. Let's see here. Would you know how to make a path to cut a 45-degree fold in 3/4 inch material? That would take some experimentation as well. Let's see. 45-degree fold. So you're looking at a 45-degree V-bit. You would need some seriously precise measurements on the thickness of your material, and bring that bit down because you want to score through the somehow I've got a red light flashing here and I don't know what it's for. You want to be able to score through all the material, cut through all the material, but leave that bottom piece of veneer. I'm assuming you're going to be cutting in plywood. You want to leave it intact. So, oh, meant a 90-degree fold. Okay. Well, you'd still want to use a 90-degree V-bit because it's going to cut 45 on each side, and then you would fold over. But again, you're going to need some very precise measuring and some very good control of your G-code to cut that material spot on. Because you'll want to leave again that bottom veneer intact, so when you fold it, you're not, cutting all. You're folding it. You're not taking two pieces and wedging them together. I've never done it. I've never attempted it. And be very careful, because just because it says it's a 90-degree V-bit doesn't mean it's a 90-degree V-bit. I mean, and yeah, Leo is correct. They make a table saw blade that does that. Personally, I mean, I don't know what you're trying to do, RB, but personally, I would just, I don't know. I would just cut it on the table saw and glue it up. But that's just me. I know that's not what you're trying to do. But some very, very, very precise measurements on the thickness of the material, and very precise control of the G code to be able to cut down and just score the back of that bottom veneer. So, okay. RB says can be done with a 1.5 inch 90-degree V-bit, but not with a 1/2 inch. Well, are you, how thick of material are you trying to do a 90 on? I'm assuming 3/4 inch. You might have to invest in a larger bit. I mean, I know it's easy for me to say because I'm not the one writing the check, but, Okay. Brooks Martin says, just check my VCarve desktop 10.54. The texture area tiles folder was empty. You might have to go into your portal and download that folder. So Donovan's Home says Shop Saber CNC has a video on it. Okay, I'll look that up. Shop Saber. See, you're not just another pretty face. Thank you. I appreciate that, Donovan. And that is for miter fold. Let's just call it. I'll go look for it, and if I find it, I will link it in the description of this one. Yeah, and Todd is correct. Your spoil board needs to be, well, your router needs to be trimmed, and your spoil board needs to be flat. Big time. Big time. So, yeah, and a $200,000 machine too. Well, okay. Yeah. Well, shop sabers are not cheap. I mean, no doubt, no doubt. So, okay, let's go ahead and end this. There will be no video next week. I've got to get on this, get this spoil board mounted, get my vertical work holding set up and ready to go. I'll be filming that this week and next. So the week after next is when the um, excuse me, thought I was going to sneeze. Um, so the week after next is when the spoil board video should come out, and then hopefully we can get into making some projects to include a pirate multicolored epoxy inlay. I need to make a work table, a roll around workbench, which is going to include some cabinets for storage, for parts boxes, etc., etc., etc. See, Todd says one too many zeros. I don't know. Have you priced them lately? For channel members, remember tomorrow evening, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, members only live stream. Link to it is on the community tab over on my channel. I will kick off at 5:30 in the evening and go until y'all are tired of me or we run out of things to talk about. So we'll see you then. For everybody else, go do something cool. Go make some chips or go clean up the chips you made. Speaking of chips, maybe that'll be my next video. Hooking up this dust collector finally. Don't know. We'll find out. Because I need to do both because I got to have the dust collector hooked up to surface the spoil board. What I have is a serious case of the butt first because I need to do this, that, and the other. But first, I got to do the other, this, and that. We'll figure it out together. See y'all next week for an open live Q&A. See y'all channel members tomorrow night. Until then, have a good one. Take care and go do something cool. Bye-bye, y'all.